What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Really big patch today. Not only does it include a mini event, but it also has a pretty big amount of new balance changes as well. Very quickly, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Some of the event is actually pretty nice because you can just play the game and you can unlock stuff, and this is how it was before. So that's nice. You're getting some stuff for free. You even have a nice skin there, highlight intros, some other stuff. Okay, that's pretty good deal. However, what is not a good deal is $44 for 3 legendary skins. For the low price of 2 games of Overwatch 1, 2 full copies, and then some, you can get 3 skins. I'll pass. Thank you. However, there are a bunch of balance changes as well. And some of them good, some of them bad. We're going to go and check them out. Before I go through the changes, I need to be serious with you guys for a moment because there's something really important about the Overwatch content on YouTube that you need to be aware of. I'm sure that most of you are subscribed to a whole bunch of Overwatch channels. And did you notice at 1 p.m. Central when the official trailer got dropped, there was also a whole bunch of videos that got dropped at the exact same time from a whole bunch of YouTube channels where they were talking about the event and the balance changes. Now, the way that they do this, obviously, is because they have advanced information. They are being shown favoritism by the Overwatch dev team. And where this can be a problem and where you should be concerned about this is because the way they get this favoritism is that they are, shall we say, unofficially required to only give positive content about Overwatch 2. Now, you might see some mild complaining here and there about, oh, I don't like this and that. But you will never see any hard, serious criticism from these channels because if they do, then they are placed on the naughty list, like I am, and they don't get this favoritism from Blizzard. Blizzard hates me right now. The Overwatch dev team hate me, and I don't really care. And they hate me because I don't pull my punches with them. I criticize them when they do dumb stuff. I criticize them when they pander to weirdos, and I criticize them when they censor content for China and for other countries and whatnot. So I don't have a problem doing that. But the reason why I'm telling you guys this is that you should be aware any of the channels that are dropping their videos at exactly the same moment of the trailer means that those channels are getting favoritism from the Overwatch dev team, and you should be at least skeptical about whether or not the review or the information they're giving you is completely honest. Having said all that, let's go through some of the changes. First up is going to be Orisa. She's getting a small nerf, and Sombra is getting a tiny buff, and basically it's now hack can interrupt the ultimate. And okay, I mean, it's a little bit worse for Orisa, even though she's still stupidly powerful, and it's a little bit better for Sombra, even though she's not very good. I mean, it makes it line up with Fortify, because, I mean, you can't stun Orisa when she's in her ultimate because it has that Fortify aspect to it. So it is a nice little counter, but I don't really think it changes either character in any significant way. It makes Sombra more of a hard counter to Orisa now. And, I don't know. I think there's better stuff. I mean, maybe, it's not terrible, but it's not going to solve the issues for the 2 respective characters. Next up is going to be Ramatra. When you activate your Nemesis form, you get a whole bunch of extra armor, right? And also, when you activate your ultimate, you get put into Nemesis form, right? Which means that you get the armor. But the problem is that if you had Nemesis form going and then you activated your ultimate, you wouldn't get that extra armor. You would have to wait until you switch back to Omnic and then activate your ultimate and that sort of thing. So now, what they've done is a little bit of a buff to the character. So now if you're in your Nemesis form already and you activate your ultimate, your armor gets refreshed. So, nice little change for Ramatra and definitely a buff. The next one, oh man, people are not gonna like this one. They're buffing Roadhog's hook. So what happened is before, when you activated the hook, the cooldown would begin immediately. But there was kind of an issue with the way that it was working and stuff. So what they decided to do is they would just kind of flip it around and make it so that the cooldown wouldn't start immediately when you activate the hook. Instead, it would activate when the ability was over. And then when they did that, they said, you know what, let's just reduce the hook cooldown even more. So now instead of an 8-second cooldown on the hook, it's now 6 seconds. Although I guess technically it was more like a 7.5-ish cooldown. So it's not a full 2-second reduction. It's more like a 1.5 second reduction. But the point is that now Roadhog will be able to use his hook even more often, which I'm sure everyone is going to absolutely love. Next up is Hammond, and he's getting a couple of little nice changes. So the first thing is they added some extra options in the config for the character. There's now a relative aim sensitivity when you're rolling around. So it kind of changes it. Like, it makes it so that you have the ability to control the aiming this way, and you can control the aiming this way with 2 different settings, so that way you just have more control of the character, which is nice. There's also a gyro sensitivity while rolling, and that's for the Nintendo Switch only, if you happen to be playing on that. And then there is now a timer for the grappling hook, because you can only hold on for a certain amount of time now, and so you have that timer that's above the ability. I think that it probably should show it in the middle of your screen, or have something more on the hood, above the character. It's nice that they added it above the ability, but I mean, really, you're not going to be focused on the ability. When you're like this, you're going to be looking ahead of you. So it would make more sense if they had it closer to the crosshair than if it was above the ability. Like, they could do something like what Mercy has, or Zenyatta, or, Brigitte, or any number of other characters, Zarya. You have that information in the center of your screen, because that's where you're looking. So they should put it there instead of just above the ability. Also, they did nerf the character a little bit. They made it so that the ultimate has a 1.25 second activation now instead of a 1 second, so a little bit of a nerf for Hammond on that. However, Zarya got a little bit of a buff. The shared cooldown for the barriers has been reduced from 11 seconds down to 10 seconds. So you can use it a little bit more often on both of you. Which means that you're going to be using your own bubble more often. I mean, how many Zaryas actually use the projected bubble on your friends, right? On the teammates. Like, yeah, almost every single time Zarya uses the bubble, you're using it for yourself. I think that's an issue, really. I think there's a better way that they could handle this. I think they could make it so that you have the bubble for yourself, and they should incentivize using the bubble on your teammates, where the bubble on your teammates gives you more than just the bubble on yourself. Maybe it has a lower cooldown or something, and it has less protection or something like that, but it gives you more charge. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of different things that they could do to see, and this is the thing that I'm talking about. You can see the little HUD there for Zarya's, for the charge and for the bubbles. I think they need to incentivize more on giving the bubbles to your teammates, because right now, yeah, most Zarya players are just going to be using it for themselves. I think it is kind of funny in that way. Next up is Ashe. This is not, I wouldn't say that this is a buff or a nerf. It's just a change. Essentially what happens here is they've removed the default setting for Bob, where before what he would do is he would just target whatever happens to be closest, but now he will prioritize whatever target you hit. So you noticed in that situation there, he immediately changed his target from whatever he was currently locked onto, and he changed it to the thing that I had hit. And I think that in some situations, that's going to be better. There are other situations where it's not, where maybe you want him on his own target. Really, I think that they could improve this, not just for Ashe either. I think they could improve this for Torbjorn as well, because now Bob is using the same behavior pattern as Torbjorn, because when you drop Torbjorn's turret, the turret will prioritize whatever Torbjorn hits, right? So I think they could go one step more with this and just use the ping function, right? So he'll default to attacking to whatever is nearby, and then you can ping something if you want him to change target. Or, optionally, you could even have that in the character-specific options. You could make it so that he automatically changes on attack, or you could make it so that he changes on ping. I don't see why Ashe and Torbjorn shouldn't have this setting. I mean, you give more options to the player, more control over the, the AI stuff. I think that would be better. I mean, this is a nice... Well, again, I think some situations it's better, some situations it's not, but I think using the ping system would solve a lot of that. Hanzo has a nice little buff. The leap is now on a 4-second cooldown instead of a 5-second cooldown, so good for him, I guess. Mei has a change where she is getting a very, 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 very minuscule buff to her ultimate. Instead of having a 0.5-second activation, it is now a 0.4-second activation. This is not even going to be noticeable. This is something that is so minuscule, it will not affect 99.999999999% of the matches that you are in and the uses. This it's not going to change anything. I mean, they gave an explanation for why they changed it, and they feel that it's going to work better or something or whatever, but no, this is not going to change anything. Although, also, by the way, Mei should have been made into a tank. Her kit is much better suited for a tank character or for a bruiser character, especially with the new format, than it is for a DPS character. Next up is Pharah. This is probably going to be a nice little change for PC players, and it's probably going to be a little more frustrating for console players. So Pharah has always been strong on consoles because, I mean, to put it bluntly, people have a harder time aiming with hit scan on consoles. It's much easier to aim with a keyboard and mouse than it is with a controller. It's just the way it is. That's why consoles have auto aim. But the point is that this is now going to, her jump jet is now going to give her a lot more horizontal movement. So you'll notice that I moved way more to the side there. And this is not the same as hovering, but regardless, it is going to make Pharah more maneuverable. It's going to make her more difficult to hit. And as I said, for PC players, I think this is going to be nice. For console players, I think it might cause some problems. Next up is Sojourn, and this one's just kind of funny. Basically, they made her 20% fatter. They made her 20% fatter. The torso hit volume width has been increased by 20%. Basically, her hitbox is a little bit bigger. She's now going to be easier to hit because they made her fatter by 20%. I just thought that was funny. Next up is Baptiste. His immortality minimum health threshold has been increased from 10 to 25%. So what this means is that characters that are under the effect of the immortality fields can now not drop below 25% instead of the previous 10%. It used to be, I think it was 25% a long time ago, and they nerfed it down to 10 because it was causing problems. And now looks like they buffed it back up to the 25% mark. I still think that the immortality field is a very... So you can see his health just went up. I think that the immortality fields and resurrection from Mercy are kind of problem abilities. I don't think that any character should have an ability that is so ridiculously long you only get to use it once per fight, sometimes only once every other fight in the case of Mercy. I just don't think that's a good game design, and that they need to make other changes to the immortality field. But overall, this is a buff for Baptiste, and it's going to make the tank characters even stronger, because when you have a tank with hundreds and hundreds of health, 25% is going to be a good chunk more than 10%, so there you go. Those are all of the balance changes that they made. I think some of them are good, some of them are like, what were you thinking kind of thing? And we'll have to see. But what do you guys think about these changes? Let me know down below.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and